happen today, then that is how he will come. On all of the tables, you'll see QR codes for both our Venmo and our PayPal, and we'd love your generous donations today so that we can continue to make sure that this event can be free for those guys who
Let's go. What's this one?
all of that
This is
said,
disabled
we've got
default.
fantastic
That's what we just
speakers
changed,
today.
right?
Yeah, we should
Has
change this
anybody
one.
ever played
Sure.
Hogwarts
It hit
Legacy?
the.
Yeah. So we have the lead animator from Hogwarts Legacy, Joe Percival, who is with us today and will be speaking. And we also have Adam Sidwell. Did you guys play Pokémon Go? Any Pokémon Go players? Yeah. Awesome. So Adam just worked with Niantic on their newest game, which is also an AR. Fun AR little character game where you can walk around with a character, and it's called Peridot. And so he's going to talk to us about the way of the industry and the way things are going in the future of entertainment and games. Well, without further ado, Joe, I'm going to hand over the mic to you, and we can begin. At the end of Joe's talk, we will open it up for some Q&As. So as he's speaking, if you have a question, just hold on to it. If it's a burning question, raise your hand, because Joe's a pretty nice guy. Sure. He'll let you ask a question in the middle of his talk as well. So, Joe, thank you.
Thanks for the warm up, everybody. And I think we do need to give Jordan another hand to pull this thing together. There's a lot of work. Nothing runs smoothly. Every change brings us to you guys. Closer. There we go. All right. So the title of the speech was The Evolution of Animation, but I'm a creator. I imagine things, I conceptualize things. I kind of feel like that's maybe what my higher power does, so I'm a creation. So I'm going to talk about evolving rather than evolution. And the only way I could figure out how to do this was basically to tell you how I evolved as a person, as an animator, over 20 years in the games industry. And I did it all by staying right here in Utah. And I hope that is appealing to those of you who like the state and want to live here, want to create, want to be part of the entertainment industry. So I grew up in rural Utah, small town. If you've heard a song called 1980 something by Mark Willis, that was me. I saw Star Wars at least 8 times. I played Roger Starbuck in my backyard. My first love was Daisy Duke. Well, it might have been Linda Carter, because she was Wonder Woman back then. But so that was kind of my childhood. And so from a very early age, I was drawing, probably at 3 years old. That's when my mom said, "Hey, I'm going to give you a sketchbook because there's something here." And so she supported my hobby, my interest. And I started drawing, and I would draw Star Wars characters and comic book characters. And of course, at 12 years old, I was sending in applications to the Disney Future Animation Studio. Just had high hopes and aspirations, and I fast forward. I got I got to tell you about the support that I got. So I was in 7th grade. I'm in science. I'm drawing all over my notebook instead of I was still taking notes, but I was mostly drawing. And the teacher didn't like that. Teacher conference comes around. My teacher explains to my mom, he's taking notes, he's doodling, he's doodling instead of taking notes, he's not paying attention. And my mom said, if he needs to rewrite the notes with no drawings on the paper, I will have him do that, but I will never encourage him to stop drawing. And so that's the kind of support I got from my parents. And fueled my desire. So I drew all the time, and I think that's what helped give me my first job. So out of college, I went to UVU back when it was 3 other names ago, and I got a graphics and commercial art associate's degree. And I was actually headed to Utah State to get an illustration bachelor's degree. And the UVU art director, it was Doug Anderson at the time, he called and said, hey, there's a company in Salt Lake, they're doing 3D video, they're doing movies, they're doing commercials, they're looking for people, do you want to go interview? So I said, sure. We get there, it's a 2-hour interview. They're not doing movies, they're not doing commercials, but they are doing video games. And they were doing all sports games. And my portfolio was full of monsters and fantasy and animals and everything that came out of my head for the previous 21 years. And so I guess I don't think I was quite the right fit, but my traditional skills were enough to convince them, okay, we'll give him a shot. And so I started at Acclaim Entertainment. They were making the games back in the 80s and 90s, and they owned a studio here called Sculptured Software. And I was doing fonts. My first job was creating fonts. We had 16 colors to make a font look good on the screen. And that was great, that was exciting. It got my foot in the door, but it's not where I wanted to stay. So over the next 6 months, I kind of sat at the heels of some guys that were working in 3D Studio Max and creating the cinematic. Back then it was called the FMV for the front end of the NBA Jam game. I started to teach myself 3D modeling. I taught myself rigging. I taught myself texturing, mapping. And we hadn't quite got animation because we were doing sports games. They wanted to do everything motion capture. And Acclaim Entertainment was one of the forefront motion capture studios back in New York. So everything was motion capture, which I didn't get really involved in. I was staying on the traditional side, painting textures and modeling. And Acclaim was a great studio. It was a great start. We put out a couple of NBA Jam games and started on a Jeremy McGrath's Supercross game while I was there. And it was during Jeremy McGrath that the industry was shifting. There was a lot of software out there. There's 3D Studio Max, there's Maya, there's XSI, there's Library, there's all these softwares. And it was, everybody was kind of a generalist, and maybe some of you were generalists still. And that's why I stayed doing all those different jobs. But on Jeremy McGrath, we switched to Maya, because Maya Autodesk started buying everybody else and putting it in their business. But so we switched to Maya, and I started to delve into animation so that we could do the Supercross tricks going on jumps all by hand. And that just caught my attention. I'm like, making things move, bringing something to life, that is really where I want to be. And so that's where I put my focus. But you still got to pay the bills, so I still did what they wanted. But in my spare time, I was trying to learn as much as I could on the job from these other artists and very talented people. And they had 3 layoffs in the 3 years I was there. So it was a little tipsy, and it made me nervous enough that I started looking elsewhere so that I could find something in case things went south. And that's when I interviewed at Avalanche Studios here in Salt Lake. I interviewed at some studios in Texas and California, and had offers to go there, but my wife and I decided, she was 7 months pregnant, let's stay in Utah, this feels right. And so I was able to get on at Avalanche, and it was not easy. It took a couple of months, and it was actually a need they had on the current game they were doing that got my foot in the door, and that was, I knew Maya, I knew modeling, and they used a software package called Hash Animation Master. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. I don't know that it's around anymore, but it was a pretty cool software. And you could do very organic, really nice looking stuff with it. But the game they were doing was NCAA 2K2, and it was a port to the Sega Dreamcast. So all the art had to be layers all had to be reduced in levels of detail. So what got my foot in the door was creating 12 levels of details for that football player and retexturing, remapping. So it wasn't animation, but from that point I was able to then be in the door at a great studio and work my way into these other areas. Because at the time, everybody kind of was a generalist. But the industry was changing. There was also like probably 10 good studios in the Salt Lake Valley that you could kind of jump between back then. But in 2001-ish, a lot of those didn't survive. So it went down to just a handful of studios. And so again, on the job, I started refining my modeling, refining my texturing skills, and delving into animation and concept art, and kind of doing a little bit of everything on the games that we produce over the next 5 years. And yeah, this is my portfolio. Sorry, I don't have the video to show it, but so Avalanche was an independent studio, and we always had to get contracts and worry about publishers and licensing. But it was full of creatives and people that were willing to work hard and give others opportunity to branch out. They didn't pigeonhole you saying, well, you're a modeler, that's where you should stay. Oh, you want a animation? Okay, when you're done modeling that, go to animation. And so that kind of environment just feeds creativity and keeps employees happy and can actually produce better work and more success for the studio. And so on Rugrats, I did a little bit of everything, but really started doing animation. And again, it was all on the job learning from those that were already there. It was a very small animation group at the time. There was like 2 of us. But it grew beyond that. And in 2005, we had done some Disney movie games, and so that relationship with Disney had started to bud and flourish, and in 2005 they actually bought the Avalanche studio, and we all became cast members. So I'm a rural Utah kid, always had aspirations of working for Disney, and I didn't have to leave the state. And so that little miracle came true in my life. And Disney was great. We worked really close with Disney Feature because they wanted us to produce a game that would come out with their movie. And we were a consumer product that supported the movie. And we got to go visit the studio, we'd go to screenings. I remember seeing Wilbur Robinson when it was very early, meeting their animators, seeing how they animated. One of the most impressive characters in that movie was the bowler hat guy. I don't know if you remember him, but and the animator on that was phenomenal. And so we started creating these games, building this relationship, and it became really strong. They would share concept art, they would share modeling sheets, so we knew how to pose the character. I remember working on Bolt. We get these character sheets that Dale Bear had worked on, and I got to meet him. And again, there's this old Disney animator that, as a kid, I idolized, and I got to meet him and work with him, and see his drawings right there, and animate my characters based on these drawings for facial poses, lip syncing. So all my dreams become true, right? And then Disney goes on and buys Marvel, and they buy Pixar, and they buy Star Wars. So now, not only am I getting to work on Disney content, I'm getting to work on all these things I idolized and was entertained by and inspired by as a kid, and I'm getting to work on it. And so I consider myself very blessed. It was sad when the Disney thing came to an end, but it's interesting. I was talking with Scott before we started. Things fall into place. They might not fall into place the way we think they will, but you just keep working. Things fall into place. And so fast forward. Again, if any of you have questions, raise your hand. What I'm trying to illustrate, there's telling my story is I had to evolve on the job. Certain things got my foot in the door, but I couldn't be content there. I couldn't stay there, and I didn't want to stay there. So I evolved with my skills, what I was willing to do, my work ethic. I'm not necessarily the most outgoing person. I'm an artist, so generally I like to sit there and draw. But expanding and building relationships with other people have helped me as I've changed jobs, to get jobs, and in a working relationship with someone where you're grinding with them for months and months and months. Infinity work-life balance has changed a lot over the years. It's gotten better, it's evolved. And benefits for artists have evolved. When I first started, the programmers got on the royalties. It's really hard to be an artist. But the industry changed, it evolved. They realized the value because gaming was changing. The graphics were becoming a major draw as to why someone would buy one game over another. And it was just increasing that experience and engagement. And so artists became more valued over the years. And so I can't really speak to animation evolving. I mean, it's evolved since the 1800s, right? But my career had to evolve, and the studio actually had to evolve because we were independent, and we were owned by Disney. Then when Disney shut the doors, we were all a little concerned. But relationships are what helped Warner Brothers come in and say, hey, we'd like to start a studio in Salt Lake. And we all got interviewed, and some of us got hired back, and again, another blessing, another door. One door closed, another one opened. And this is one major point in my life where the technology and I had to evolve, because up until that point, we had our own game engine. We had our whole team of engineers and programmers that built this engine over several years, and that was gone when Disney closed. And so we wanted to impress and please Warner Brothers right out of the gate. So we finished Cars 3, and they said, that's great, but we want more out of you, we want more for you, and we believe that you can create something great, and that can be a franchise, and that can expand some licensed universe that we have. And so they gave us the opportunity to do something bigger than we've done. Up until then, it had been mostly family, kids, movie games, right? And they believed in us, they funded us, and supported us. We explored ways that we could bring that to life. We pitched like 57 game ideas when we first joined WB, and that got narrowed down to 3, and then that got narrowed down to 1, and the Wizarding World. Cameras, and we cleaned out a room of testers and said, this is our room now. And the studio and Warner Brothers was very supportive of it because they wanted us to succeed. And that was, talk about evolving. Motion capture is a different animal. It's very powerful, but to an animator who's traditionally keyframe, it's a little bit swimmy and shaky, and a lot of work of editing that has to go in after you do mocap. But it was also exciting because now you've got 4 aging, overweight animators getting in a black tight suit and running around on the stage, running the cameras. And so it was fun. And we practiced and we concepted. That's the neat thing about a motion capture stage is you can concept 3D animation and try some ideas that would take you a lot longer to hand animate. And so that's what we started to do with developing the system that we wanted to have in place for the pipeline for Hogwarts Legacy. And of course, we brought in professional actors and actresses later, but a lot of the animation and motion in the game are us. We're a team of both aging animators. But what was also fun about it was there were people in audio, there were people in design that thought, hey, I'll get in a suit. I'll get in a tight suit with little reflector balls. And so there's actually, we have motions from so many people in the studio. And I've been in it so long that when you see an animation, you can pretty much tell who acted that out. Swaying their hips or the way they accentuate, and you can call it out, which is kind of fun. And so again, we evolved. We didn't fight the fact that we had to do motion capture. We accepted it and did all we could to make it successful. And we had the support of the studio to do that. And Hogwarts, realism is something we hadn't done before. We were doing Disney characters that you're exaggerating, you're pushing, you're doing things beyond anatomical ability to do. And so there was a style challenge, but again, that's part of the evolution of the industry, of the studio, of animation. Shoot, I just used that word in that evolution. That's part of evolving. And if we hadn't evolved, and me personally evolved during all these changes, I wouldn't have been able to probably stay in the industry. And studios come and go, and Avalanche's, they started in 1995, so they've been doing something right for a long time, and it's been a great blessing, like I say, to work there, to work with the people there. But Hogwarts was new and it was a challenge, and I know a lot of people were like, this is that movie game studio. Are you going to do a AAA title? I don't know. Very, very doubtful. And that's cool because then we're the underdog, right? And, it creates a challenge, and we did our best. We were getting inspiration from the best. Uncharted 4, Witcher 3, Spider-Man, all these games that we were studying and getting inspired by. We knew that they were on their 3rd and 4th version. How were we going to compete? But we did our best, and so far, people have been happy with it. We still have the Switch to release in November, I believe. But it's really been a great project, a great property, and it's just one of those things where the new door opened, created a new opportunity. And again, it's like, I was a little older when Harry Potter came out, obviously, but the movies were great, the books were great, and now I get to work on that content, and I didn't have to leave Utah, I didn't have to go to England. It's just been an amazing, blessed opportunity, and I guess if, trying to think of the questions Jordan gave me that I had to answer. She asked me, what would you tell someone just starting out? And I think a few things. One, I would say hone your skills. Be adaptable. Be willing to evolve. Whether it's in your skills or openness to a certain company, or maybe you do have to leave the state. I have several friends and coworkers that either by choice or by need of a job, left the state. Some of them stayed. I work, if you're an animation fan, you might know who Hiram Osman is. He is a director of Disney Feature now and animation director. And he started at Avalanche and wanted more and went to film and had great success. And I have other friends who went there and went to different studios in California and came home within a year and got back into games and have been happy ever since. So be willing to evolve, try new things. I have other friends that went and worked at FX houses in California and they come back and other professors at the radio. So you never know where life is going to take you, but if you just keep working it in the area that makes you the happiest, I think the doors will open and you're going to be successful. And is that my time? Stay inspired, and sometimes that can be hard. When you're sitting at a computer for 20 years, you get a trophy right here, and it can be easy. I've seen people that fall into good enough or just enough to get the job done. Question.
What are the differences of skill sets that you've seen that are required from animators from when you, or even just people coming into the studio, from when you first started to now? So like people coming in, years ago, if you could draw on paper, good, congrats, you're in. And we'll kind of teach you the software as you go. But now that the software is getting more advanced, what kind of skill sets are you seeing people need?
Well, that's one of the beautiful things about the entertainment and technology game industry is there is almost a place for everyone. So I have friends and coworkers that are maybe not the best traditional artists, but their modeling skills are phenomenal. I have friends who are fabulous painters and traditional artists, but they hate the computer and they don't want to touch it. So I would say develop the skills that you love, and there's probably an opportunity and a place for you. Obviously, the 12 principles of animation from the 9 Old Men and those kinds of things will never go away. Those are illusions of life that are attractive and relatable to us as humans. So following those principles, they're entertaining. So those skills will always, and that knowledge will always be part of animation, I believe. But you can't sit on your laurels. You've got to develop the skills, learn the software. I'm old, I shouldn't have to learn the software, but we have to do it every cycle, every game cycle. Even if we're doing the same thing that we did on the last game, there's a new way of doing it, or more efficient way of doing it, and the software has changed, so you evolve and you adapt so that you can still perform your job and create the best product possible. Any other questions? Yes. Adam's probably going to talk to that. I saw a funny thing on LinkedIn today. It said something about how non-graphic artists are going to need to tell AI what they really want designed for them and how they want it designed. And then at the bottom, so we should be good. Because the human touch, the human element, I think can be replaced. Now, can AI be a tool? Probably, absolutely. But we were in a meeting the other day and someone had chat, GPT or whatever it's called up, and he said, write me a story about a dad with 5 kids who the kids break his headphones and he can't work, and they go on this jungle adventure to find these headphones. Anyway, ChatGPT within 2 seconds wrote a story. but there was no feeling to it. All the points that we put into the software were there, the line items that we typed out, but there was no feeling about how they felt when we were doing these things. There was no feeling about happy or sad or emotional or the things we love about movies, the things that make us go, oh, you feel that? Or, I mean, I remember seeing Science, the movie with Mel Gibson years ago, and the little boy has an asthma attack. If anybody had that, you might have had to take a deep breath when he's acting out his asthma attack. That kind of feeling comes from a human experience, a human touch, a human putting that into the movie, I believe. So I think AI can definitely be a tool. We're not sure where it's going to go. We get offers all the time from new companies popping up and saying, hey, we're an AI motion studio. And you look at their process and their steps, and the first thing on the list is, well, we went to the mocap stage, we got all this data from the actor. So you had to have a human. The AI had to start somewhere. It couldn't just make this stuff up. So I think our jobs are secure, but how we do them will probably evolve a little bit with the AI. Hopefully that answers your question. Any other questions?
Yeah.
What was the question?
What is something I do creatively to get me out of a rut? This is probably revealing too much, but no, there have been times where, especially being a dad, I'm like, I am creating and pouring my life and imagination into a product that my kids waste time. And so you go through these times when you're like, am I doing the right thing? Am I where I'm supposed to be? And I've had that a few times over the last 25 years. But when I also think about what I could be doing elsewhere and what I am doing, I really like what I'm doing. And I'm doing it in a way that provides at least healthy, good entertainment for my kids that I can kind of control, and that isn't kind of focusing on the downside of society. And so that brings me some relief. But sometimes you just gotta step back and go for a walk. That's what's nice about downtown Salt Lake City. You step out of the office, you walk around the park, you go up the streets, you clear your head. Drawing, since that's where I started, I gotta go back to pen and pencil, and I really have not gotten good with an Apple Pencil. So I gotta go back to lead and paper. I just feel more comfortable. And so trying to get back to that gives me a break that I can then be rejuvenated when I go back to the computer. But you probably will have those times when you're like, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? But those are times for personal reflection, and don't let yourself think, yeah, I shouldn't be doing this. I'm not good, or something's better. That will pass. At least I've found. Any other questions? I know we're running close to time.
One last one.
What was from on the board created a company work environment and created
So what creates a healthy work environment and what?
like incorporates creating a healthy work environment in a creative setting?
When I started out, we were in individual offices, which was really nice for your privacy and put your head down and work. You feel like, hey, I got my office. But when we got put in what we call an animator pit, where there's like 10 of us sitting around and we can walk over to each other's desks really easy, or huddle around a conference table, that's when you're smiling, that's when you're creating. At least we found. And I think think being in an environment where they let you try new things, like I said earlier, I want to try animation, but you're doing 3D modeling. I know, but I want to try animation. Okay, go try animation. And that just, creatives need that. They need to be supported. They need to have some freedom to go try new things and see if they like it, or maybe they're going to be better at it. So I think just those kinds of things, getting along with the people that you work with is super important. And one of the greatest things I admire about where I work is that we can have a heated discussion. Somebody can feel very passionate that the character needs to do this instead of this. And it has gotten heated sometimes, but when the meeting's over, everybody smiles and shakes hands and we walk out with hopefully the best thing for the game. And that takes, I think, years of working with someone, but also just having a kind, creative attitude that we're here for the game. Let egos be over there. What's best for the game? And that's what I've experienced where the places I've worked. There was one more. We'll do one more. Is your question?
So I guess we can continue to application experience a lot of programs that we are to just get the software. We have advice for ways to get experience and
so what is the best way to gain experience when you have limited resources? Open source software. There is something for almost every package out there, right? There's Inkscape for Illustrator, and there's GIMP, or maybe it's GIMP for Illustrator, Inkscape for Photoshop. There's some 3D software, Blender. Like, there's all these things that I would take advantage of that. It's very powerful. And in this day and age, there are a lot of opportunities. Even when you don't, mine was $15,000 20 years ago. It's about 5 now maybe. But anyway, there are open source stuff that I would say take advantage of. And that at least get your skill set so that you can learn on the job once you get into it. So, thank you.
That was actually a fantastic question because you don't even know it, but I'm going to announce right now some other summer events that we have happening, and one of them is on June 17th. We'll be meeting in South Jordan, and we have MSI, our sponsor and partner, who has donated 60 laptop workstations, 60 computers, not for you guys to take home, I wish. That would be nice. But we are going to partner with the Blender group. Blender is a free 3D animation software program, and we're partnering with them so that they will have their experts come in and be doing tutorials with you guys. We'll be doing one group tutorial, and then we'll be breaking off into sections depending on your interests, and we'll be doing individual tutorials. So we actually have people flying in that are experts in Blender that are going to be coming in to show you guys that. So that's a great question, a great segue into what I'm going to talk to you guys about right now, which is our future events. All right, so we have that one happening, and then also in partnership with MSI, we're using those 60 workstations because June 10th, if you guys have ever wanted to make your own game, whether it's a card game or a video game, if it's a board game or if it's a platformer, whatever the game is, we are going to be having a game jam. So what is a game jam? A game jam is going to be 5 hours. When you register, we will ask you a series of questions to get to know your interests a little bit so that we will know if you do want to make that card game, that board game, that platformer, that first-person shooter, and we will put you on a team. You'll have 5 hours to start ideating with your team, start developing some of the assets that you need, whether it's art or whatever, and only 5 hours, that's not enough. You will have the entire week with your team then to go back home, go to stations, you guys meet up, like in the library or at someone's home, and to continue to develop this. Then on June 17th, when we get together for that Blender event, we will be declaring a winner from one of the teams. So as long as you have something playable, whether it's 2 seconds or 2 hours worth of play, as long as it's something that's playable, we can see your vision for what you have. That's all that we ask. If you want to continue developing on your own time, that's wonderful. That'd be awesome. I'd love to see, something that comes from this we develop further. Yes. That is a fantastic question. Yes, you can attend virtually. So we'll have Discord set up so that you can still be talking and meeting with your individual teams. And we will also have just a straight up live stream if someone just wants to watch. I mean, just watching it can be boring. You're going to want to participate. So that is coming up on June 10th. If you go right now on our website, slaxanimation.com, scroll down and you'll see the RSVP for that event, and you'll get all the information. Yeah, so if you have friends that you already know you want to work with on a team, that is one of the questions. Just let us know right there, and you can go ahead and list out your friends. We do ask that you, it's a little bit cheating if you come in with like, oh, we only have like 4 levels that we developed, and we're just going to develop the 5th level. So we do ask that it be something that you're developing specifically at that time. But you are welcome to register if you already have friends that you know you guys want to team up. That's awesome. So any other questions about that? No? All right, cool. So that's going to be on June 10th. We also have a few industry professionals coming in from multiple different studios around the Salt Lake area. We have the creative director from The Void. We have, oh my goodness, my mind is blanking. Check your email once you register. Check your email if you don't register. I'll get you guys all of the info for everyone who's coming to both be a judge and then also to walk around the room and help you develop and figure out what you want your game to be about. Yes. Yeah, you will be able to. That's a good question as well. Cool. And then mark your calendars as well for our July events. So July 8th and July 20th. We will be hosting 2 different events. We will be doing on July 8th, we have 3 speakers that we'll be working with, which are unannounced. But we will be having a talk there about voiceovers, and then also, so if you guys are interested in voiceovers, we'll have some professional voiceover actors, as well as people who own some local talent agencies. And we'll talk about voiceovers specifically for the animation community, but if that's something that you're interested in, come on out to that. That'll be an awesome event. And then we also have, in conjunction with IDPA, the Utah Indie Developers, we will be doing a game night on July 20th. So if you have a game that you are currently developing or that you have already put out there, if you have a studio and you want people to check out what you have, we will be hosting that event right here. We're going to have tables set up. We're going to have a time for you guys to hang out, to show off your software, show off what you've been up to, and that's just going to be a really fun networking event. And then on August 4th, so mark your calendar once again, we will have a show makers panel. So maybe you're not so into canvassing, you are interested more in making your own TV show. So we'll be having a panel with 4 people who have made and developed their own shows. You will have the opportunity to speak with them what it takes to go from initial ideation all the way through to distribution and to see that thing on people's TVs in their homes. So come on down. Again, that event is going to be on August 4th. And then our last event for the summer, and then hosted here, is going to be on August 19th. And you guys already asked about it, AI. It's going to be a panel called AI, Good or Evil. So we have a couple of studio leaders here again from the Salt Lake area, because the whole point of this summer series is for you guys to get to know your local community here. And we will be talking about the future of AI and what it means for us as animators, artists in the creative industry. Is it taking over my job? Maybe it is. Is it making my job easier? Maybe it is. Is it making my job harder and making clients more annoyed? Yes, definitely. So those are some events that we'll be hosting. So all events will be taking place right here, except for the 2 June events. The 2 June events are going to happen down in South Jordan. So again, go on our website. We'll have registration open for all of these events coming up soon. But right now we do have the June 10th 10th registration open. So, with that being said, not in California here. Yep, and then I will talk to you after, and I will leave all of the info. And you guys feel free to hit me up after. I was very busy beforehand, but if you want to talk after, I'll be on. Can I please have Jet or Caleb bring me let's do the, yeah, we're going to do all of those guys. So bring up the book, and bring up the jug. One book, one jug, you need to know which is for which. You need to know which is for which. Please don't get them confused. Those were flip-flops. The blue was on the right. Thank you. Can you bring me up the jug and bring me up the book? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Alright guys, we are going to be doing the raffle. We've got our lovely registration table hosts. We're going to be saving that guy for last. Oh, you're good. Don't worry about it. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Alright, Caleb. So the very first thing that we're going to give away here is the $50 Amazon card. So if you put your name in for the $50 Amazon card, get your ticket out and get ready. Let's see who our winner is. 7. Who has a 7 to 1? No, just joking. Everyone has a 7. 7, 2, 0, 0, 2, 3. Hey! Awesome. Alright, next is the Mitchell's First Machines Art of Books. It's a really fun movie. If you guys have not seen this movie, please go watch this movie. It's so much fun. I love it. Alright, so Mitchell versus the Machines Art of Book. We've got 7, 2, 0, 0, 3, 8.
That's
Awesome. Alright. Spirited Away. Hayao Miyazaki classic. One of the first Hayao Miyazaki films that I've seen, actually. I think that also the very first one was the second. Alright, let's see. Spirited Away, Art of Book. This is a good one. Ready for it? 7, 2, 0, 0. 4, 2. Alright guys, and we have with us today the lead animator for the book that this is the art of for. So I suggest you get it signed by him and sell it on eBay. Just saying, just saying. So let's see. So I'm not going to sound really happy. Alright, cool. So, the winner of this one is 7, 2, 0, 0. Everyone's like, I know that's how it starts. That's how they all start. Just get the last 2 numbers, please. Well, this is an early comer. Congratulations for getting to this event early. Whoever has 1, 1. Very cool. All right, and wait. I have one last prize. This is just for funsies. This is just for fun prize. Well, how about you? I'm grabbing this. All right, cool. I'm gonna shoot this thing off. All right. This is some slime. It's not really slime. It's Play-Doh cloud, but it's really fun. If you're someone who gets stressed out and anxiety, you just like to play with things. I'm going to go ahead and put all of the remaining tickets. So if you already want to look, your ticket is out. I'm going to combine all of the remaining tickets into one. And one lucky winner. One lucky winner will get to ease their anxiety by playing with some slime. Alrighty, here we go. It's your last opportunity to win something. Let's see. You already got free food today. You really want that free stuff. Alright, here we go. Alright. 7, 0, 0. No, sorry. Is that good? Yes! Very good. All right, guys. So thank you again for participating in our raffle. With every event, we will be doing raffles. So just something fun to look forward to. And without further ado, I would like to introduce you guys to Adam Sidwell. He is the owner, co-founder of all of the above?
Yes.
Future House Studios. And you may have seen him at the Animation Expo last year. He's a fantastic speaker. And get your questions ready because he's another guy that is happy to take your questions. And let's all welcome Adam.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good to be here. Who was at the Animation Expo last year? When I spoke? Who's going to talk? Okay. Hey. Hey. Okay, so I'll try to say something. I will not dwell on things that I discussed before. But we're going to talk about animation, and we're just going to talk about animation in all sorts of forms as it is. Jordan and team is setting up right now to show you some videos. But first, let me ask about you. How many of you are students seeking a job? Okay, where do you go to school? Where? UVU? SLCC, okay. Anybody else that's not UVU or SLCC? Okay, I guess you get, where do you go? Dakota State? Oh, Utah. Okay, excellent. And then what about people who are working or in the industry? Where do you work? Okay, cool. Doing animation?
Yes.
Great. Where do you work? What's it called? Oz Marketing Link. Okay, so anybody else? Scott, I know Scott's back there. He works for Steamroller Studios.
I work for Storybox Studios in Ogden. I'm an animation supervisor on two room kind of animation.
Hey, how's it going? Your name is your
Net.
Net.
Box.
Yeah, okay. Storybox Studios, cool place. It's got like this sort of, yeah, it's very cool looking. Okay, awesome. I just spoke with some of the people at Storybox recently. Very cool group. Sunday. Yeah, like, that's like the most new talking ever. Okay, awesome. So, here we go. Okay, so let's see if this clicker actually works. Do you have the dongle inserted into the laptop? Okay, let's see if this is not working. Can you click onto? Oh, there we go.
I can click for you.
What do you click for me?
Just say click.
Okay, next one. Okay, just play this video. I'll play this video just to give you an idea of background of what I do. So, I started out in visual effects in animation about 20 years ago, and I'll tell a story. I was sitting in this warehouse at Consulting. I actually went to BYU, did an animation program there. It was like one of the first years that they ever had an animation program, and that was awesome. I was sitting in this warehouse in Los Angeles on Venice Beach in a place called Digital Living. I was working on my first movie ever. I was so excited with the movie I, Robot. And there was, you know that movie? She smiled. You've heard of that, right? Okay, Will Smith, you know, SLAX the robots. And it was really fun because I read all the Asimov stories and I really like I, Robot. And I was sitting next to this guy named Toby, and Toby was super cool. And Toby was kind of funny, he was just like quiet and mellow mannered. He had just come, if I remember the story correctly, he just come from Electronic Arts. And he was an animator at Electronic Arts, and he was working on a bunch of sports games or other shooter games. I don't remember what the games were, but it was a very interesting conversation because then he was sitting there animating robots for this feature film. And that's when I first got my taste of the fact that an animator is an animator, and an artist is an artist. And you may be doing AAA games one week and then find yourself doing blockbuster movies the next week. And then after that experience, I think Toby went back to do games and did some movies and then did some games. And I found this to be common across the industry. So, there's our robot right there. So over the years, I've worked primarily in movies. This is, again, some of the films I worked on. I got to go to Weta Digital in New Zealand and lived there for over a year. It was awesome. I worked with Peter Jackson and King Kong. It was awesome because that is truly like Lord of the Rings land. Like, you drive around, there's all these props from Lord of the Rings like left all over the country. It seems like, there's just literally there. In fact, I walked into a warehouse one day to look at the Helldivers, the planes that were going to shoot down King Kong. And up in the stash in the rafters were the black gates of Mordor. and I emailed my mom, and I was like, Mom, today I ran into the black gates of Mordor. My mom's not really like a super nerd or Lord of the Rings fan, and she writes back, she's like, are you okay? And I'm sitting here today, she's like, oh, I am okay. And it was awesome. So, lots of fun stuff. Pirates of the Caribbean and Industrial Light Magic. If you ever get a chance to work with Industrial Light Magic, it is so cool. Because, when you go to Disneyland, how everything's themed in Disney, you feel like you're part of this magical place. And I'm sure that's what it's like. That's what it is like at Disney if you go through the studio. Anyone who worked for Disney Animation before here? Okay. So, you walk in the studio, it's like Disney Mickey stuff everywhere. There's like all the story and history of Disneyland. But when you work at ILM, it's like that but for Star Wars, right? Like, you walk in and there's like, they were building like this cantina there that you can go hang out in, and there's like stormtroopers and R2-D2, and you walk through the lobby and there's Darth Vader, and there's just actual props littered all over, and so it's really fun and cool. And that's all digital, actually, mostly. That was a really fun place to work, and if you go to Skywalker Ranch, it's on this road called Lucas Valley Road in Marin County. No relation to Forest Lucas, it was just named that. But you drive through, and everything about Island and what they do is very discreet because they just don't want a bunch of people like breaking in and like looking at the next movie, right? So, are you guys Star Wars fans? Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, just checking. Just didn't know if that was old, Nobody watches Star Wars anymore. There's a little road you turn off, and we got to go to screening, right? Because we got to go to screen some movies in their special theater. It's like an academy place where academy members go to screen these movies, and they would let employees go. And so we go there over the ranch, and you're driving, and you turn on this road, and there's like nothing there. It's just this narrow little road, and you go past this garden, and it just looks like you're going up to a cabin or something, right? And there's just a little sticker of an X-Wing fighter in the window. And you're like, oh, we're in the right place, right? And then you go through, there's this beautiful ranch, and it's just amazing. And it's filled with Skywalker Sound, like this really cool library, this amazing restaurant, and this vineyard, and there's this screening room theater. It's like if you died and gone to filmmaker heaven, right? It's like, wow, this is so cool. Okay, so anyway, I'm showing you all this. Go to the next one. Okay, so go to the next slide. So that was my life for like the last 20 years or so. Actually 20 years. Yeah, we're coming up on the 20-year anniversary of when I started my first movie. It's like in June, so that's in a couple weeks. I'm pretty excited about that. So I did a bunch of movies, commercials, etc. And then about 5 years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago, started, actually it was probably like 7 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, started working in real time in virtual reality, And that was like the hardest job to get because I went to apply this job, right? And I've been working forever, and like I could get a job within like 10 minutes. It was like amazing, right? And I think this is important for everybody to know who's like seeking jobs, right? Because I don't say that's a brag, but when you get to have worked with enough people and they know that you do, because every time you do a movie, you're working with like hundreds of people, right? So then they know you, and if you do a good job, they say only if you do a good job, right? Then they will know who you are, and then they all move to the next studio, and when you find a job opening somewhere and you apply, you just like look on LinkedIn, you're like, who's there? And you're like, hey, I applied for this job, do you know like anything about it? And they can like hook you up with the recruiter or the CG soup or whoever it is, and it helps. So you have to do a good job. You have to have the skills, right, to be able to do that. Okay, so this is the guy with skills. Walt Disney, right? Okay, play this for 1 minute. I played this at the Animation Expo, and I really want. Can you turn the sound on? I really want to play this again because I always think about this.
This is a blueprint of a piece of equipment designed to make cartoons more realistic and enjoyable. This is the plan for a super cartoon camera. We call it a multiplane camera. It was intended for use in our feature-length cartoon. You see, we decided for features. The camera needed improvement too. Actually, 3D cartoon camera was fairly simple in construction and operation, and generally very satisfactory. The problem was how to take a painting and make it behave like a real piece of scenery under the camera. The trouble was we were photographing a flat two-dimensional background. So we set about making plans and blueprints for a new cartoon camera that would overcome this. The different elements in the scene were separated according to the various distances from the viewers. This put the moon on a plane farthest away from the camera. With our original picture moving in this manner.
Okay, how many of you know what the multi-plane camera does? Okay, good, right? So you should. Basically, it allows parallax. So then when you go through the screen, you can go past these things and it gives that feeling of parallax that provides depth in the scene. Okay? So I think that sometimes, as I've spoken with animators and people who are in the industry, sometimes we get to the point where we're like, okay, this technology is awesome, or this way that we do things is awesome. I wish I was back in the good old days of 1955 at Disney Studios working on various features, because those were the glory days of animation, right? When everything was hand-drawn, it was beautiful. Walt never would have felt that way. He never felt that way, right? Now we're at a different point. Now, you know, I remember the moment, it was almost 20 years ago, when Mike Eisner canned and shut down all of the hand-drawn traditional studios in Florida. It was this big deal. It's they sold all the drawing tables, and it was shut down, and everything was changing. And CG was on the rise, and that's when I started my career. Was when 3D computer graphics were really on the rise. You know, it was only a few years after Toy Story came out, and people were still figuring it out. It felt like this crazy new frontier because people still didn't know quite how to fire in the water yet. It was okay, but it wasn't quite there. It was just getting there, and it was before the rise of digital humans and realistic faces. So there's a lot of innovation to be done. It felt like it was the Wild West, and a lot of the processes weren't created yet. It was exciting times, right? We are living in those exciting times. A lot of people lost their jobs, but a lot of people found new jobs and new ways to create. We're going to face that. I know Jordan was just talking about the panel on AI Good or Evil, right? And that's something that we're all going to have to tackle in the next little bit, of how that involves us as artists, and us as technologists and innovators. Okay, so Walt innovated in some ways. Let's get through here. There's Walt and the whole game that invented animation practically. These guys did it. They were awesome. Go to the next one. Okay, just click through this real quick and you can see all the stuff that Walt did. You know, he did a lot of stuff. It's now, the torch is passed to us, right? We do a lot of stuff. Okay, so questions or comments on that? You know, this is going to be an open conversation. I want you guys to jump in because I want to talk about the things that you guys want to talk about too. Okay, so, any thoughts on that? Okay, should we watch this Transformers clip? Okay, so, look up. Okay, yes, watch the Transformers clip, and I'll talk over it as it's going. So this is for Transformers Decepticon Invasion. It's a virtual reality ride that is installed in Dave & Buster's across the country, over 150 locations where you provide this. You put on a VR headset, you sit in a big chair with 3 of your friends, so there's 4 of you, and this whole thing moves and rocks like a coaster. And you're interacting with the environment and the movements of the environment, and you moving through the environment are tying with the real world physical movements. So many of you have been on a VR ride before, right? So you know what it is, right? It's so cool because you get that visceral feeling of like dropping or moving or swerving as you live in this world. So we started the studio, and early on, we got a great break to build this game for a company called Dark Slope, which was building this for VR Studios, which was building it for Dave & Buster's, Transformers Decepticon Invasion. And we had to make 46 unique assets, from Bumblebee to RC's motorcycle to Decepticon jets to Cybertron, etc. So to Devastator, it's one of my favorite moments in the game. And we're involved all the way from storyboarding and level design to creation of assets to concept art, managing outsourced teams, look developments, all of these different things to final animation. And it was so fun, right? So this was a project that actually ended up being over a year, ultimately the whole thing together. And it was a fantastic thing to do with the studio. There were moments when we wanted to quit. Like, it was super hard. There was a lot of pressure. Deadlines from clients, like very exacting. Like, there were points where like, hey, the stripe on Starscream's fin is 1 centimeter off. You guys are fired. Like almost like that. That's what it felt like sometimes. But because you also have a license holder who wants to make sure that everything looks right in the game. Has anybody written this game? Yeah. Okay, everyone go to David. You wrote it. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Twice. So you came to our game night. Yes. Okay. So sometimes we have like game dev nights, where we bring people together and we say, let's get together, let's talk about game dev and all those things. And so we had one at Dave & Buster's, and we invited a bunch of people. We all went and wrote the game. It was really fun. So we go to Dave & Buster's. It's not too far. It's just down the road, down the gateway. Try it out. And it's a lot of fun. Okay. So big Transformers. That was my whole point. That was all. Okay. Yes. You mean like scanning a model or actually scanning in real time? No, I'm not. Yeah, that's super cool. You should do that. That would be really cool because basically you're saying let's make a digital twin of a human, right? And then have that interact in real time with people. That's a really cool thing. Okay. Great idea. Do you have a plan for like how you're gonna do that tech? Okay, cool. So there's also things like volumetric scanning you can use, right? Or you can try to like map to a metahuman and make that look like a person, but you have to do some art beforehand. And so there's all sorts of things that would be interesting. And that's the exciting times we live in, right? All this of how our real world is bleeding into the digital world. I really love that the new Enterprise Quest has a pass-through function that's like just built in and part of it, right? We're going to switch from AR to VR. HoloLens had something really cool, and one of their demos is just fantastic, right? Because it shows that there's a couple people around the table working on like an engine, right? One of those people is actually there, but the engine is in augmented reality. So they're wearing a HoloLens, they're looking at this thing, right? And then the other person is representing, they're far away in VR, looking at this table, and they're represented by an avatar there. It's also manipulating this AR. How cool is that? How can we use that? Right? Who can think of a game idea right now that would be a cool game for that? Yes, what's the game idea?
Let's say you're defending against an alien invasion and you have to go through a bunch of rooms with your partner.
Okay, with your partner, you're moving through like a real scenario, right? Like the boy did that really well. That's super fun. They managed to do that and make that work. Okay, let's go to the next slide.
Oh, did it start over?
Yeah, you should go to the, yeah, that's the same one.
There we go.
Oh yeah, just play this because we're talking about Transformers. Just 'cause this is cool, that's something. So we put together, what's interesting is when you're developing an animation studio, you turn that up, just because, you know, it's classic Transformers. It's just getting weird.
It won't let me. It won't let me.
You guys know all these characters?
Stupid
You know
things.
any Transformers fans? Okay, good. It's good. Real deal, right? So when you're developing a studio, when you know, this was like less than year one, I think, when you started on this. You're working on these things, and then you can't show anybody for over a year. I wish I could tell you the things we're working on right now, right? Because I'm pretty excited about them. But I just got word that I'm not going to be able to tell you about some of them until like January of 2024. I thought I was going to be able to tell you in August. I can't. But that's kind of the breaks that we get. So what we did is we, once we were allowed to tell people, we rendered out some of these assets so we can show our modeling and texturing capability, right? Ryan Burge is one of the fantastic animators and asset guys that all over this, and he just loves Transformers. In fact, it was kind of cool is that Ryan is like the ultimate Transformers nerd. When you get on his Zoom call with him, he has like 55 Optimus Primes. Now that's not even an exaggeration. Like it's probably 100 on the shelves behind his head, right? And then all the other Transformers that he owns, there are so many of them. So he is actually like an expert in the toys. And when we were talking about this design, and we were actually bidding on this project, and having to do a test, we would, in these calls, we would discuss how he would say like, well, you know, the Masters edition from 1999, G1 Masters edition of the toy has a stripe right here and a ridge over here, and the rivets are really great. But the fans don't really like that because of this, and this. His wife was buzzing me for him. Ryan, do we really need to buy all these Transformers? Right? And Ryan, I told Ryan, so because of those conversations though, we actually got the job. And I told Ryan, I said, you've been preparing your whole life for this. And now his wife lets him buy whatever Transformer toys he wants. So you never know like where your nerdom is going to serve you. You know, and this just happened to work out really great in this case. So, okay, good. Next slide. Oh, okay. Wait, before you do that, actually, can you, Jordan, have me a favor? Can you search on YouTube for Niantic Peridot trailer?
I already got it.
You already got it? Can you pull that up? Okay, so, speaking of like not being able to tell people what you're working on, we're working on this for 2.5 years. This just came out like last week. The week before May 9th, you could finally tell people what we were working on. Any Pokémon Go players in here? Okay, a couple people. I saw somebody like, you know, don't want to admit it. How many people used to play Pokemon Go? Okay, right. Yeah, so the thing is about Pokemon Go is it like still makes $1 million a day. Yeah, it's like, it's still really working, and I don't know nobody plays that anymore yet, except for a couple of people who are very, very dedicated, and it's working. It's basically built Niantic into this amazing juggernaut that now gets to spend a lot of money on experimenting AR. So, play this for us, Jordan. Turn up the volume too, it's kind of fun. Peridot. Peridot. Have you guys heard this game? Yeah, no. Okay, some people have. Okay, can you play that other one with the bubbles too? It's one of the links I sent you for Peridot. Wait for it. Okay, so Peridot is a game that was under development in Niantic, and we actually were really lucky to be able to start working on that. That game we were working on for 2.5 years. Initially, I started doing character reading on the game, and then they wanted more people from our crew, and that team grew, and then I got so busy running the studio that we had to replace myself with another character reader who was more dedicated to that. It was really cool. So this game is an AR game that we animated these little pets. Like you saw that, actually we did the VFX for this trailer as well, which was really cool. Because we got to see the trailer plus we're on the game. All these pets are animated, they're very lifelike. They have a lot of animation cycles that blend together. You know, the pets doing cute things like rolling over, eating, you know, running around this way, jumping up and down. Our animators actually got quite a bit of freedom to experiment and create different animation cycles that then really blend well in this game. So not this one, we'll just play this one. There's another one. But anyway, if you get the gist, right, it's like a Tamagotchi. You know, those little pets, right? But it's in AR, and it's wandering around. And like, if I pull it out on my phone right now, it would wander around and go behind you and actually has illusion. Oh, not this one, but that's okay. Just play this one for fun. You need to play this with sound though, after rewind. It's better with sound. Yeah, go back to the beginning. Fresh, maybe. Yeah. I hate YouTube shorts. Okay.
Where's the sound
A little
now?
volume on that one. Down the bottom. No? Okay, there we go.
No.
Alright, hit it. 2 minutes. Whoa! What was that? Just right outside my office. Oh, no way! Hey. Take that! Partnership with Niantic on a lot of things that we develop and some things. So let's talk about trends. Top Gun Maverick, did you guys see it? Like it? Yeah, I mean everybody liked it, right? It was broke a slew of records, including Cruise's best opening ever at the box office. $126.7 million over 3 days. Highest grossing movie ever, like 1.49 billion global. Wow, that's a lot of money, right? That's pretty cool. And everybody in the movie industry was like, yeah, movies are back, they're awesome, this is like the best record ever, this is so amazing and cool. And you know, I love this because I work in movies and I love to see a big win like this, and also I thought it was a cool movie. And the director also is the same director as Tron, and so I was like, yeah, that's my boy, right? So then, go to the next one. Hogwarts Legacy, right? It's crushing 12 million sales in 2 weeks. What do you think what was the price point of Hogwarts Legacy? Anybody know? $60, right? So it made in 2 weeks something like 850 million, right? So it was up there with Top Gun. It's going to far surpass Top Gun in the total dollars spent on Hogwarts Legacy, and there's probably going to be expansion packs, sequels, etc., things like that. Okay, another stat, go to the next one. Okay, Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Who's playing it right now? Okay, if you're not, then you will never get a job in animation. Anyway, just kidding. Okay, sells 10 million copies in 3 days. Approximately $70 per copy, so that's like $700 million in 3 days. Now, what was Top Gun's most Top Gun excited about? So that's their opening weekend, right? That's their opening weekend. Top Gun was excited about like 100 million, as it broke all Hollywood records. This breaking all records did 7 times what Top Gun was at opening weekend. But the thing about games is, games aren't necessarily really tracked by their opening weekend, because how many of you are like, well, I have to buy it the day it comes out, right? Like, I mean, we were for Tears of the Kingdom, like we definitely did that, but a lot of games are like, oh, I'll get it next week, right? So, in other words, like that metric isn't necessarily indicative all the time. So I'm sure that by the time it's all said and done, Tears of the Kingdom is going to be selling like in the multiples of billions of dollars, right? Whereas you're excited if the movie ever surpasses $1 billion. How many of you have ever played Warcraft or play Warcraft, or, and it's kind of old now, but, okay, how many hours do you think you spent playing Warcraft? Too many, like, okay, did you guys see the Warcraft movie? Okay, so how many times did you see the Warcraft movie? You own it, okay. Yeah. Thank you. I worked on that show. No, that's my homies at ILM. Like, they did a really good job. Like, it was really good. So, you know, like the birthing scene, she's like, so I worked on that scene. It's one of those you don't want to tell your mom about. I think the birthing scene. Anyway, yeah, okay. So, and it's on my demo reel, like one of the first shots. Maybe I'll get to that. So, anyway, cool movie, right? Didn't do very well at the box office, but let's that all aside. How many hours do you think you spent watching the Warcraft movie? Yeah, so maybe you watched the movie like 10 times. Like, that's 20 hours. You've probably spent 2,000 hours playing the game, at least, right? So, part of my next slide, this is not exactly the best slide, but it's kind of enough, right? So this is showing blue is digital consumption of media. Black is traditional. I don't know on this slide, I wanted the time to dig into it deeper, but didn't say if traditional consumption of media is including streaming of Netflix, and so that to me would lie for traditional media in certain ways. But the trend is that our consumption habits are changing over the years, right? Movies used to be the dominant form of consumption, movies and TV. But then as we have the rise of phones, social media, etc., social media started to edge out on movies, and people started to consume in the generations before Gen Z started to consume more social media than they did film and TV, right? But now Gen Z is even eschewing social media to a certain extent. I know it's weird to say, social media is old news, guys. Games are now eclipsing social media in the amount of hours that we spend consuming things. In fact, that's how people interact with each other. Like, have you guys ever had an interaction online with your friends? Like, do you interact? Who interacts? Like, how? Okay.
I on social media also like VR. I met some of my best friends on VR.
Okay. Okay. So VR. Anybody else? Like, did you? Yes.
Use Warzone to hang out.
Use Warzone. Okay. Right. So you get in there and you play with your buddies, and you like, Jordan, is that 5 minutes? Okay. Whatever. Okay. So you get in there, you hang out with your buddies, right, and you talk, and you meet people, or you interact, or you like are playing a game, like. Do you guys remember Words with Friends? Right? Like, that was a cool way to interact with people. It was much more satisfying than a social media experience, and your relationships were more authentic, deeper. So, we're in this crazy cool world where animation is going to take part in different forms, right? So, how many of you are like, I've got to work for Disney or Pixar, and like, that's it? Okay, good. How many of you are like, oh, I want to work for games, or wait, how many of you want to work in film or movies? Okay. How many of you would be okay working with games? Right? Okay, how many want to work in something else? What do you want? Something else? Animation.
2D animation. Yeah.
2D animation. Okay. Yeah, what else? Advertising. Okay. right? Advertising is a big deal, right? It's just like, there's so many cool things and innovative, crazy things that are done with all the campaigns. Like, it's kind of your job to be innovative and crazy, right? And that's really fun. So, my point is that I don't want anybody, if you're like looking for your next career move, to get fixed on it and have to have this one thing. That's it, right? And if that door closes to you, you're like, that's it, fine, I'm giving up animation. You know, the formats are constantly changing. You're going to be presented new opportunities next year that weren't there the year before, right? It didn't exist. So that's what's really exciting about this. Okay, so anyways, that's what I'm here to talk about cool stuff. But you guys want to hear about this game that we're working on? Okay, cool. All right, so I showed you that clip, right, of pulling the sword out of the stone, and we've been messing with AR, and we've been working with Niantic, and we're one of the managed partnerships with Niantic. There's not very many of them. So we have calls like every other week with their team, development, and talk about development. So this is like super realistic, unreal stuff. You guys will see that. So you can skip this. Skip the, this slide, skip that slide. I don't know if that's in there. This is just showing we work with people all over the world. So that's what these stars are, like some of the locations are. Okay, go. Okay, so what do we all want in life? The quest for the ultimate prize. What we all want, go to the next slide. We all want a sword. That's what I want. So what we're going to do is, over this summer, we're actually working on development right now, and I'd love to have you guys involved in this, right? We're developing an augmented reality mapped virtual game, all like Pokémon Go, right? Where you are going to traverse the world fighting monsters and seeking out swords, okay? To defend yourself and your loved ones in your neighborhood from the ravaging monsters that are coming in waves that are going to do us all unless you can hold back the tide. Who's with me? Okay? So here's what we're going to do too. To me, like, what I think is super appealing is when AR and these games blend into the real world. So we're going to be hiding a forged sword in the real world, like real life, when you hold your hands, somewhere in Utah. And as you play this game, if you are the one to vanquish the foes and advance quickly, somewhere around the end of the summer, you will find the hidden location of this sword and be able to draw it and keep it for yourself. Who's with me? You guys want to do that? Okay. All right, next slide. Okay, this is the same thing we already watched. Okay, so do you have what it takes? We started with the initial concept art, and we're just going to open up and tell people about our development cycle. You know, I post stuff on LinkedIn regularly. I've just started posting about this. I have a Substack where I write about this and other like fiction that we development, things that we develop. You know, books, movies, TV shows that we're doing in the studio. Because we're excited about like a collaborative community, right? We want to hear what people are interested in, how they react to things. So next slide. So this is a lot of designs, right? Like this is all going to be about leveling up your avatar, creating new things. Okay, this QR code. So if you scan this QR code, take your phone out, scan this QR code, it'll take you to a Google form, put your email in, answer a couple of questions, and then we will put you on the closed beta for this game. Okay, so what we're going to do is it's going to be like a closed beta this summer, because we want to test, we want to like talk to the community about what we're doing before we release it out into the wild for everybody, right? And that means that, you know, that the sword is going to be for someone in closed beta, right? So, okay, any questions about that? Any questions? Okay, any questions about anything?
Is the sword made of solid gold?
Is the sword made of solid gold? Kind of like that idea. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. And you know what? I think that's the beginning, right? Like there will be more things to find, right? This is just the beginning. There's probably going to be places to go that you will never have gone to, right? Like we were thinking, oh, what if we send somebody to France to live in a castle for a couple days? Like, wouldn't that be cool if you win and you do that? Like, I think what's exciting to me is how all these games and digital worlds are bleeding into our real world, and that's the huge fun of it. So that's all I have to say about that. I'll be around here if you guys want to talk or have more questions. Thank you very much. Awesome to meet you all.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody, for coming. This is the first, like I said, of many events. Check out our website. If you aren't following us on Instagram, follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Get the latest. We do have a Discord as well. I personally am not great with Discord, so if you love Discord and you want to volunteer for the Salt Lake Animation Expo, I will gladly take you as a volunteer to help us curate that Discord and just make it an absolutely awesome community. So, again, thank you guys so much for coming. Doors are officially supposed to close at 11:30 because they have another event in here. If any of you guys are interested in interactive art, experiential art, they have an event happening in this space starting at 3 o'clock where they will have multiple artists here with some interactive exhibits and stuff. So they said it was open to the public from 3 to 10 p.m. tonight. Just wanted to put that out there. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for coming. I know